Hello everybody, and it's been a little while, but I thought I'd do this video based off action RPGs. So, as anybody that follows this channel knows, I'm huge into action RPGs. And I really thought I wanted to take the time and really kind of talk about what kind of makes a good action RPG, what are some downfalls to it, because right now, currently, I have Titan Quest on the Xbox One. Also on the Xbox One, I have Victor Vran, the Overkill Edition. I have Incredible Adventures of Van Helsing 1, 2, and 3. I have Path of Exile. I have Diablo 3. On PC, I have Diablo 2. I also have Path of Exile on there. I have Wolshin, and Guardians of Ember, and Grim Dawn. And I also have Pillars of Eternity on the Xbox One as well, which is a version of an action RPG. So, let's talk about what makes a good action RPG. An action RPG to me is dungeon crawling, loot-based, and some have good stories and some don't. I will say flat out, Diablo 3 does not have a good story. Or, the story's very short, but the gameplay mechanics is everything's there. And it's a really good game. Now, I still play Diablo 3. Some of the games are good and some aren't. And some people look at games with rose-tinted glasses. Now, Diablo 2 I still play, and I've played it off and on since 2000 when it came out. One of my friends introduced it to me when I was in high school. Yes, I was in high school when Diablo 2 came out. I remember playing the original Diablo and loving it. I can even go back to action RPGs. Technically, Gauntlet was one of the earliest action RPGs, and that's what really got me into it. But in nowadays standards, see, I can go back and play an older action RPG, say Torchlight, which is really good, and I have it on the 360. I also Sacred's okay. I always try to find new action RPGs. Some work well, and some don't work at all. So let's talk about the ones I currently play. Wolshin, I haven't really been able to really get into for the purpose of it doesn't run well on my computer. It really doesn't. Guardians of Ember, I played that. I have it. It's in beta form. It's still, the hit detection is really off. It doesn't really. There's so much last time I played it that was just a jumbled mess of whatever the fuck that it had problems. Now, some games that do it really well is Path of Exile. But I'm going to talk about that later on in this little video. Let's first talk about Titan Quest. Now, Titan Quest, recently I did a video on Titan Quest about 2 weeks ago, and I talked about its flaws. Now, yes, the PC version is probably superior, but I've only played the Xbox One version, or I played it on my phone. It is very jaggedy. Character customization is really bad, and it has one of the worst skill trees. Now, when I talk about one of the worst skill trees, I put Diablo 3 in that level of bad skill trees. And I'll talk about that in a second. But Titan Quest, to me, I'm playing it, and I'm playing Titan Quest, I've never been so bored playing an action RPG than when I was playing Titan Quest. Because it's just run-of-the-mill, not much going on. It wasn't really inviting me when I was playing the game. So, to me, Titan Quest just isn't great. The weapons are pretty standard. You don't have anything unique. When you're fighting enemies, you're not really finding great stuff in there. It's really not good merchandise when you're fighting enemies. So to me, I didn't like the music. The areas look all the same, and it just, for all intents and purposes, was pretty shitty. Sorry, my laptop's starting to die. So, there we go. I really need a new laptop. This cord is going really bad. So let's also talk now about Grim Dawn. Now, where some of these games have problems, to me, Grim Dawn's problem, it isn't the story, because it's very unique. You're a guy that basically gets hanged, and you come back, and you're trying to figure out what happened. Why were you the one to be brought back? And to me, it's a great story, and the loot is unique, because you can have guns, or you can have swords. What the cool thing is there is so much loot in that game that you literally are always trying to figure out, well, what should I keep? What should I not keep? What is the best loot in the game? And that's what I was trying to figure out. What literally is the best loot? And to me, it was, I like the classes and the fact when you get to a certain level, you can combine classes, and it's very interesting. Really good powers. The mood is very good. I just think it's a great game. So Grim Dawn, I think, is a really good find. Victor Brand is interesting. It's on the Xbox One. It's on PC. Now the thing with that is, it's not very, there's not a lot of depth to like the weapons, but there's like divinity cards to change your character, and there's different outfits you can find. I haven't put a lot of time into that one, but it is a unique game, and it's one of the few action RPG games that have a jump mechanic. So take that into consideration. It's very interesting. But then you have what I consider Incredible Adventures of Van Helsing is a character arc story. So you have part 1, part 2, and part 3, and if you want to, you can take one character through all 3 games. You got a ghost counterpart, so the ghost really works with your character to try and get to that level, and I think that's very good mechanics, and I really loved it. I've beaten all 3 games. I want to re-go through. You also got Wolves of Midgard, which is a really good action RPG, but the only problem is the campaign is so short, and they never released any more DLC for it. So to me, everything just, when it comes to action RPGs, you really need your loot. There's the skill set, which should really be your forefront, making sure each character is unique, different skills, different abilities you can find. Then you should always find your different classes should be unique, and weapons. And there is such a thing as too much loot, because sometimes there's so much loot that it takes away from your quests, but you also want to not just be doing fetching quests and stuff like that. You want unique stuff. You want unique quests, and you want good lore in the game to bring you in and really make you a part of what you're playing. And that's really the core basis, is this is what you want. Now, I talked about how I want to get to, that I would talk about Diablo 3, and I'll talk about Path of Exile. Now, these are 2 games that are neck and neck that everybody talks about. You're either a Diablo guy or you're a Path of Exile guy. I play both games. Now, here's the pros and cons. Now, Diablo 3 has a small story, and they released Reaper of Souls, which I think Reaper of Souls was okay, but it didn't really leave a lot to the story. While Path of Exile has multiple acts, always puts new stuff in there. They're up to 10 acts right now in the game. Now, I would say that when it comes to skills, Diablo 3 is lacking. Now, is it lacking with the Necromancer? No. Or the Witch Doctor, or the Monk, or any of those. But the class I play, the Barbarian, is very lacking. Now, the reason I say it's lacking is because you can go into Path of Exile, and you can get skill gems. And the skill gems mark as a skill where you can have multiple things and really customize a build. Diablo 3, you really can't customize a build. But the other thing is the tree, the passive skill tree. You can go in so many directions, and the Path of Exile skill tree is so huge that you can literally pick any direction you want. And you can go this way or this way or this way. Now, one thing that is bad with Path of Exile is sometimes there'll be character resets, or just in general, you kind of have to grind. You have to grind more than you do in Diablo. Now, Diablo 3, you don't really need to grind as much, but there's less content. There's also more legendary weapons in Diablo 3. Now, I will say this, playing Path of Exile and playing Diablo 3, I have found better stuff in Diablo 3 than I have in Path of Exile. But that's because I'm not towards the end game. I've tried out different characters. Some of the characters are really good, and some of them aren't. But that's just the nature of the game. Everybody has their preferences. I love being tank characters. I'm not as big into magic. But there's a lot of magic builds out there for fire casters, or involving totems, or the energy shield stuff. And I don't do that. I go more for the full power attacks, leeching, blood hits, sacrifice, stuff like that. So I really, to me, and this is going to be, some people are going to hate this, Path of Exile is almost the real sequel to Diablo 2, and then Diablo 3 is more Diablo 4. Because I really think Path of Exile should get put into the set. Because if you play Path of Exile, you have memories of Diablo 2 as you're playing it. There's areas that look like Lut Gulen, there's areas that look like Kurasat, there's places that you swear you've been before. But it's because the creators of Path of Exile, some of them worked on Diablo 2, so you really have more of a mode. So I just wanted to make this video to kind of gauge my points on where you should be when it comes to action RPGs, and what your true purpose should be with a lot of these. So, this is Chucky, this is my return to the channel. It's, I've been sick for about a month, so it's been hard to make videos. So I will talk to all you guys later.